Hi, and welcome back. We're at the final stage of our pepper plant life cycle, but we'll learn today that the end is also the beginning. It's mid-fall here in the Pacific Northwest, and we had a surprise freeze that halted the life cycle of our pepper plants. A frost happens when the air outside gets so cold that the water turns to ice. It causes the leaves of many plants to die, and sometimes the whole entire plant to die. As the day gets warmer, the ice melts and all you are left with is the damage caused by the frost. Peppers can grow in the Pacific Northwest until the first frost, and sometimes that happens late in the fall. Remember how we talked about how peppers needed really warm weather to survive? Well, this is true at the end of their life also. The frost made all the leaves die back. They weren't able to tolerate the really cold temperatures, just like the baby plants couldn't go out into the cold temperatures when they were growing. Not all of the plants took the frost in the same way. Some leaves really shriveled back and got brown, while others just got a little wilty. You can see here the hot peppers definitely had the most damage, where the leaves are super crispy. In general, hot peppers are less resistant than the sweet peppers. You can see here, the sweet peppers look a little healthier. Overall, sweet peppers are a little easier to grow because they are more resistant to the cold. There are other plants, though, that a frost didn't really faze them at all, like the salvia. After that hard frost, the plants really weren't able to bounce back. We had several really nice fall days, but because of the initial damage, they weren't able to put on any more fruit. Although it didn't put on any more fruit, because we didn't have any more frost, the fruit that was on the plant stayed just fine. I was able to harvest quite a few bell peppers and some hot peppers as well. Once a plant has lived out its life cycle, we're going to remove it from the soil. If it was in the natural world, it would die back and decompose into soil. But in our garden, we usually pull the plants out and allow for them to decompose either on our home compost or even on our city compost. This is the final stage of the plant's life cycle. It has died and is going to go back into the soil. But the really great thing is it left us fruit, and inside those fruits are seeds. This is perfect weather for removing the plants and preparing the bed for the winter months. We pulled out each plant one by one. Maybe in a field they might get tilled in, but here we want to examine the roots and see how our plants did in this new home. We shake off the roots from all the soil, leaving as much of that soil in the garden bed as we can. As we pull out the plants, we examine them for health. We also remove any peppers that are still on the plant to eat for dinner. We take some time and examine the size of the roots. Some root balls are much larger than others. Some of the root structures are different depending on where they grew in the garden and what was growing next to them. Some root balls are very large and the soil is still very clung to the root structure. I was amazed at how thick the stem of the plant had gotten throughout the growing season. That was just a little sprout not too long ago, it seems. I removed all the plants from the garden bed, raked out any debris, and pulled out any unwanted little plants. Now that all of the old plants are removed, it's time for me to prepare the garden for a new plant life cycle. This year, I'm going to plant it with a cover crop to grow over the winter months. There are lots of reasons why someone might add a cover crop. We added a grain cover crop this year. We're hoping that it keeps the soil from being weedy over the winter and also allows the garden to take a little rest because peppers use a lot of nutrients in the garden. It looks a lot like grass, doesn't it? Well, actually, it's part of the grass family. All the different grains we eat are of the grass family. This one I'll let grow until it gets time to plant again. Then I'll remove it and I'll till it back into the soil. Unlike a lawn at a park or in front of your apartment or house, this grass is just to be grown for a little season. Pretty amazing that this same soil where the life cycle of the pepper plant took place is now where the life cycle of this winter grain will take place. It's pretty neat. The cycle continues and continues from birth, growth, reproduction, death, and then birth again. Thank you so much for joining us as we looked at the life cycle of a pepper plant.